In general, my art is preoccupied with bodies in society. And while being here in Bucharest, a part of the Culture Utopias residency program, the first phase, my interest has been around the topic of exhaustion. And I'm trying to explore exhaustion both in terms of the human body and the non-human body. My interest with exhaustion comes from both my personal experience in life, but also from the feeling that I have that at this moment, I feel like we live in a state of exhaustion that comes from economic, from the wars that are going on, from genocides, from all of the gig economy, art practice that involves also intense kind of work, like applying and researching and doing projects. So I think I'm just like trying to understand more of this wheel that I experience at this moment, and I feel like other people are also experiencing. And how I decided to start this research during my residency is to ask different people from Bucharest or that are in Bucharest to have a conversation with what is exhaustion for them and how they understand it. And at the end of our conversation, I also invite them to perform a gesture of exhaustion based on how they understand exhaustion and how they relate it to their own personal bodies. And I had a couple of conversations and I was fascinated how different the conversations are. They have been about class struggles, about war struggles, precarity in the art world. I haven't tried to perform these gestures, but I think maybe one gesture that feels very present is the one with the shoulders slumped down, a bit like this, so a bit like heaviness on the shoulders and a bit like the gaze a bit lost, something like this. Just like feeling the exhaustion in your body, holding you down, basically, yeah. That particular conversation I was having that came out with this position, it was the feeling of hopelessness that was very much connected to exhaustion. And I think the idea when you move and you look forward, you have to look straight, more or less, or like to see where you're going. But in this state, it feels like it's really hard to see what's forward. There's no capacity maybe for it. Maybe that's how I interpret from a conversation I had with one of the people I talk with, but also from how I would understand myself, exhaustion. Yeah, it's a bit harder to be present in because it just feels, I think when you're exhausted it's really hard to be present, like you're just, everything feels so heavy or like feels so much, like there's so many things to deal with or to respond to or to attend to. It can also overwhelm your capacity to be there, like, yeah. I do feel that exhaustion or the current state of things makes us feel very alienated and isolated. And from my personal experience, now that when I'm the most exhausted, I'm also the most lonely. And I think for me, meeting people and having these conversations about their personal experience, about exhaustion, it feels like it creates a space where things that I maybe don't feel they're acknowledged so often are. So it's a space of acknowledging some of the hardship of what's going on today. I was talking about this in one of the conversations, and somehow I was talking about comfort and the fact that I have a really bad relationship with the idea of comfort. And lately I had to explore it more to understand what makes me feel comfortable or like what gives me comfort and how I avoid those things or like how I just find other ways to escape from the notion of comfort. I actually need to find other ways of comfort. So I think in my exploration of what is comfort for me is being at home, reading, seeing friends. It's just kind of like these basic things that just, I don't know, make me very content, you know, just like having time for myself, for going on walks, and also like the time to stay with something. And I think that's something I feel like it's becoming less and less possible to stay with something and to reflect on something or to process something. And I think I'm more comfortable when I have more time on my disposal, you know, at my disposal. Yeah, I think time, it's like having time. I just find it such a privilege to have time. And I think that's when I also feel the most comfortable because I just can waste it a bit, you know, and it feels great. Like I just love wasting time, to be honest. Like it's great.